Hi, I'm Paula and welcome to Jubilant SPR, where we are sharing the joy of creativity and a simple traditional lifestyle through home gardening, raising chickens, baking, cooking, preserving, drawing, painting and crafting. Today I'm so glad to guide you through baking bread from a blend of white, wholemeal and sourdough. It's full of flavour, perfect for any meal, and so much better for you being homemade. I've been making this bread for a couple of years now. I know what's in it, and I can't wait to share the steps with you. So let's get our aprons on and start baking. For this recipe, I'm using a blend of 60% white baker's flour and 40% wholemeal baker's flour, combined with yeast, sourdough starter, water or whey, butter and salt. Normally one recipe batch will make one loaf, but I will be doubling this recipe today to make 2 loaves at once in the home electric oven. Please refer to the quantity calculations I will have on screen if you want to make a different amount. Today I will be using whey, which is a yellowish liquid formed from making cheese and yogurt. Whey can be used in making breads as a substitute for water, but if you don't have it, you can just use water. I am pouring approximately 600 ml, 21.2 ounces, into the jug for 2 loaves. Now I want to measure the active sourdough starter at 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. I'm using some sourdough starter for that lovely tangy flavour. It really enhances the bread without being too overpowering. Want to add approx 50 to 75 grams, 1.76 to 2.65 ounces of sourdough starter per recipe batch to the liquid. I generally stick to around 50 grams per batch, but you can feel free to experiment and see what you prefer. Give the mixture a good stir to combine. This whey has been defrosting in the fridge, so I want to warm up the liquid and sourdough mixture to be around 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, 104 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The warmth of this liquid will help to activate the yeast. Add in 14 grams to the yeast into the bowl. You can either use active dry yeast or instant yeast. While the jug is being warmed, start preparing the dry ingredients. Set the jug aside. Start mixing the dry ingredients in a large mixing bowl. I'll want about 1,000 grams, 35.3 ounces total flour. Weigh out 600 grams of bread baker's flour so the white flour portion works out to be about 60% of the total weight flours. Tare the weight, then weigh out 400 grams, 14.1 ounces of wholemeal bread baker's flour. This portion works out to be about 40% of the total flours. If you're new to baking, don't worry. It's just about getting the right ratio, which gives the bread that soft, airy texture with just the right amount of nuttiness from the wholemeal flour. I have often baked breads that are 50% white and 50% wholemeal, and that's still great. Or you may decide to do it completely 100% white or 100% wholemeal. Add in 3 teaspoons of butter, salted or unsalted. I just use rough measurements here. It doesn't need to be totally accurate. I just break up the butter on each teaspoon so that the butter will distribute better in the dough. Butter will give this bread the delicious richness that everyone loves. Add in 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm using fine sea salt here, but you can also use rock salt. By now, the jug should be warmed and ready to mix into the yeast. Add the jug contents into the yeast and stir. We're going to let this yeast liquid ferment and bubble up a bit before mixing it into the dry ingredients. Now, add in the wet ingredients. Gradually pour in the yeast liquid into the flour mixture and start incorporating together, mixing with the spoon. At first, the flour will appear like breadcrumbs. All the yeast liquid has been added to the flour mixture. Thoroughly mix this through and start scraping the sides of the bowl. When mixing the ingredients for a while and scraping the dough off the sides of the bowl, there will be a point where you have to start kneading with your fingers. The main thing is to stir everything together until it forms a sticky dough. It will be a bit messy, but that's the fun part of making bread from scratch. You knead the dough by folding, stretching, pulling and pushing the ingredients to bring it together into a ball. If you'd like to knead the dough on a floured surface, you can. I normally knead the dough in a bowl like this, as there is less mess on the table. Keep scraping down the sides and base with your fingers and incorporate the flour mixture back into the dough. The dough should be moist and sticking a little to your fingers. If you feel the dough is too wet, where the whole fingers have clumps of mixture, sprinkle a little bit of flour over the dough, not too much, and remix. If the dough is too dry, where you can't seem to form the dough properly, it needs more hydration, so add a little bit of water as required to the dough and knead it. This can often depend on the ambient temperature in your kitchen. On a hot day, the dough will dry out quicker. If you feel the need to give your hands a little clean, go ahead, please do. Every now and again, I have to clean my hands in the middle of forming dough, but sometimes I don't need to. There will come a point where you will be kneading the dough for a considerable amount of time of about 5 to 10 minutes. You have formed some sort of ball, and most of the flour from the base and sides are gone. It's mixed up so much you can't recognize the ingredients, and it feels soft, tacky, smooth and elastic. When you get to this stage, it is ready for the next phase. Finally, the dough is kneaded and it's ready for its initial proof. We're going to leave it in a warm place and cover it with a clean cloth. Let it proof for about an hour or until it has doubled in size. The yeast will make the dough light and airy. My trick here is to place the dough bowl into a larger bowl, pour boiling water into acting as a double boiler, which keeps the dough warm, and I cover the bowls with a large cloth for an hour to proof. Please let me know in the comments how you like to proof doughs. I don't normally sit and watch the full hour of proofing the dough, as I use this time to clean up a little. If you are interested in watching this amazing transformation, I have other videos you might like to watch showing time lapses of various types of bread proofing. The dough is finished the initial proofing, and we will preheat the oven to about 220 to 230 degrees Celsius, 428 to 446 degrees Fahrenheit. The dough has doubled quite nicely. Take the dough bowl out of the water bath. Now it is time to shape the loaves to put in the baking loaf trays. I'm going to weigh this whole dough so I can divide it into 2 equal portions for each loaf of bread. When pulling the dough from the bowl, some of the air will be released. Measure the weight. My total is about 1.75 kilograms, 61.7 ounces. So each loaf will be approximately 875 grams, 30.9 ounces. You may not have the same weight as me, so calculate how much each portion is by dividing the weight by the number of loaves. The loaf weights don't need to be totally accurate, it's just a guide. I have found that the weight of the dough after initial proofing is sometimes significantly less than the ingredients weighed up, so always check the post-proofing weight if you want your loaves to be proportionally the same. I have roughly weighed each of my portions. Now shape each portion into a loaf. I will be shaping each of them in a rectangular cube to fit into the baking loaf tray. You can shape them into trays however you like, round or rectangular, but try to have the visible folds on the base of the tray. To prepare the loaf tins, you can either use baking paper or parchment paper, which I'm using here, or grease up the loaf tins with butter or oil and flour. I like to wash and reuse my baking paper as much as possible. Place the portions into your loaf tins and compress down a little to evenly fill the tray. Score the top of loaves with a sharp knife to let the air release when baking. I am making 3 cuts per loaf. I have reheated the proofing water and pour it into the large bowl. Once the loaves have been moulded and scored, let them proof a second time into the hot water bath for another 10 to 15 minutes before baking. Cover them again with the cloth. Once your loaves have risen, it's time to bake them. The oven is now preheated. Bake the loaves for 30 minutes or until they're golden brown on top and sound hollow when tapped on the bottom. I am rotating these loaves every 10 or so minutes, making sure they bake evenly. Breads are looking a lot more golden colour now. Not long to go before they're done. There's nothing better than the smell of freshly baked bread filling your home, is there? I am taking these breads out of the loaf tins to cool down, and we have to have a taste test while they're still hot. Let's slice into one of these while it's still warm. A little bit of butter. Just look at that texture. Soft, fluffy and perfectly balanced between the white and wholemeal flour. And of course, it's irresistible when it's warm, especially with a bit of butter on top. My husband can't wait to try these. So there you have it, your very own homemade bread with a blend of white, wholemeal and sourdough. I hope you enjoyed baking along with me today. Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this recipe helpful, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Before you go, I've got 2 more videos you won't want to miss. Check out my onion leaf bread video. It's a unique twist on traditional bread, and make sure to watch the time lapse of how we proof bread for a behind the scenes look at the bread making process. Thanks so much for joining me today. Happy baking, and I'll see you again in the next video.